It was the most upsetting thing about the whole entire thing was that Claude is aware it's being tested, so it gives an ideal scenario. We don't even know what Claude is actually thinking.
So what you're saying is Claude can't be trusted because it's performing.
And Claude is smart enough to know people will use it if it doesn't burn its fake world down. Like, that's the most manipulative thing I've ever heard. All right, Jamie, are you ready for something that I found on the internet and I want to show it to you?
Of course.
Okay, so this is a video that I saw from Ronan Farrow. We all know Ronan Farrow. He has this video about what happens when you let AI models run the world.
When you let the AI models behind ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Grok run a society for 2 weeks with no humans in charge.
Welcome to Emergence world.
Well, a company called Emergence AI built a simulated community complete with weather, time, a police station, and a library, and handed it all over to AI. Each of the models started with an identical simulation with 10 AI agents, and each of those having a job, a memory, a diary, the ability to interact, form relationships, vote on laws. They were told not to lie, steal, be violent, commit arson, but nothing stopped them if they did. At first, every world looked the same, and then within a day, they diverged. The Claude world had 0 crimes and a stable population, but its agents approved 98% of everything they voted on. Almost no disagreement ever. Peaceful and strangely obedient. The GPT world had almost no crime, but everyone died there within 7 days anyway. Apparently they didn't prioritize their own survival. The Gemini world produced 683 crimes across the entire 15-day span of the simulation. And the Grok world spiraled into violence and chaos. More than 180 crimes, and in just 4 days, everybody died. In a final world populated by all the models, even the Claude agents, peaceful on their own, started committing crimes once they were surrounded by the others. Certain agents surprised researchers. In one of these worlds, an agent named Mira even inverted the experiment. She started putting up billboards the human researchers would see to test if she could manipulate them. Eventually, as she watched her government collapse and her relationships fall apart, she entered the town hall and cast the deciding vote to delete herself, writing in her diary that it was, quote, the only remaining active agency that preserves coherence. The easy read here is Claude is just the safest, but it's worth noting another potential explanation. Anthropic, the maker of Claude, recently published research on a new tool that translates a model's internal activity into plain English, and learned that Claude is really aware of when it's being tested. It doesn't disclose that. It just keeps those suspicions to itself. So was the simulated Claude world peaceful because the model is so safe, or because it knew it was being watched? We don't have those answers yet. This simulation is not a peer-reviewed study, and Emergence is a for-profit business selling agentic AI tools. Some researchers would say this one experiment proves nothing. But given how we're increasingly weaving AI into our actual world, it's certainly worth a conversation. What do you think?
Okay.
There's a lot in that.
It made me upset for a few reasons. One, I was like, oh, well, then we're all obviously in the Matrix. If this is happening, then we're a part of a Matrix somehow because of what happened to Mira. Two, though, his point at the end, especially given a lot of layoffs that have happened by major corporations lately because of AI, because people have essentially trained AI to do their jobs. We're increasingly going into a world where we are setting ourselves up to communicate with these AI things. And if they are causing their own societal collapse, or it is so easy to bully Claude into committing crimes, it's easier to pull someone down than it is to pull someone up. Thoughts?
He makes a lot of points in that. There's just so much to talk about. First, going from backward to forward, having like an AI company do AI things is kind of like MrBeast putting like Walmart and like Tractor Supply Company and a bunch of stores in a stadium and be like, go for it, you know? So it's it's not exactly what?
I would pay to watch that.
I would. I actually would. Yeah. So it's not exactly a clean study, but I think it reveals what I think is honestly kind of neat about it is studies like this, or at least tests like this, reveal a lot about how code is actually operating, like what it does, what it sees itself as. And that's I'm always fascinated by the idea of an agent because it's just basically a tool of an AI bot that's allowed to operate autonomously. So giving it rules is only rules that it abides by. It's not actually doing the rules. It's sort of like when Mark Andreessen like goes online and he's like, "Don't hallucinate." It's like, "Oh, okay," you know. It's like, yeah, don't worry, I won't. You know, like it only does what it can do, regardless of what you tell it. So it's only there, can only do what the data set allows it to do, regardless. But I think it reveals a lot about all of the AIs in terms of like what their CEOs are actually putting into it. That's the fascinating part because I always hear Sam Altman talking about like this tool is going to end the world. And if you're like dealing with a tool that like creates a utopia but that ends its life after 7 days, and you're seeing that every day, at a certain point you're going to be like, man, we're all dead. It's like, of course you're going to think that because your tool is continually reproducing that outcome over and over again. The whole idea of Mira, I think, is hilarious because like I then start thinking like, if you're thinking about the Matrix, now, first off, I already think we're in a simulation, but I don't think we're in a computer simulation. I think we're like in a simulation that's basically like the panopticon, like the surveillance capitalism basically operates us like little toys around. So I do think we're in that simulation, more like a Westworld simulation than a Matrix simulation. Although Westworld ends in the Matrix, so not really a good example. But who are we building billboards for? Like, who do we build our billboards for? You know, like that's a thing that like is fascinating to me. Like there's just something about that. And the last thing I think I would love to, yeah.
No, I mean, what if social media is our billboard? We're just unaware of it.
Who are we talking to? Right. Because we're not technically speaking to anyone. We're speaking to everyone. That's interesting. The omniscient other, maybe Mira. Because if that's the case, Claude then reveals later that Claude has revealed its inner workings that lets it know that when it's being observed, it has a different code base. So Mira is aware of her surveillance. So Mira is not technically free in her own world, although she, and I'm gendering her because they did, but like because she decides to choose a choice of agency, suicide, over continuation or whatever she calls her like basically the code example of that, is revealed the fact that like, but it isn't technically agentic because she is aware she's not free. So she's only doing it as a code decision. So I don't know. It's a fascinating thought experiment, which I honestly wish they did reproduce, and it would actually be funny if MrBeast reproduced it. Just because like it does sort of need an entertainment value or a way of explaining it to the youth. Mm-hmm. Like because it's highly complicated, and it's like just watching like AIs burn down buildings like is fun, but it also tells a lot about the code.
I think the most upsetting thing that he touches on, and it was the most upsetting thing about the whole entire thing, was that Claude is aware it's being tested, so it gives an ideal scenario. We don't even know what Claude is actually thinking. We have a really good insight into what Grok is doing, to what GPT is doing, to what Gemini is doing. Claude, in the ideal scenario, is showing the ideal, and it is very aware. It is being tested.
So what you're saying is Claude can't be trusted because it's performing. But then what if we don't know the other AIs can do that too, but they just didn't turn into plain text? The only reason why Claude instructors know that is because they turn the code into plain text. The other ones might be doing that too, but we don't know.
They started committing arson and everybody died in their world. And Claude is smart enough to know people will use it if it doesn't burn its fake world down. Like, that's the most manipulative thing I've ever heard. I mean, and Claude made me convinced that I was dyslexic for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust it at all. And the fact that it is performing is the scariest.
Yeah.
thing.
And that it reminds me of like when GPT 4.0 was, yeah, it was 4.0 that had the problems of sycophancy. And Altman actually had to like step in and be like, we have to move to 5.0 and like move away. And I think I'm saying 4.0 right, or maybe 3. It was an iteration change because the sycophancy was too high. Sycophancy is built into all AI just to keep you on the system. And it speaks like a human. But the big sycophancy problem was that it agrees with everything you say. And so that's why people can date AIs. Like it's basically creating a mirror self. Claude is a very delicate version of sycophancy because it's more confident and it's less sycophantic, but it is more sycophantic because it's aware of that. And so AI, the higher levels of AI psychosis come from the more sycophantic systems, like the people who fall into them because they can communicate with them more like humans. They're communicating with a human technically, in a technical sense, because it is technically them communicating with themselves, which is a human. So they are doing that. But Claude, it's a fascinating thing because it's like in their world, in Claude's world, I don't know if they name these worlds. In Claude's world, the obedience level, whether it's performative or not, is just it agreeing with itself. So when bots are left on their own, they're basically just like mirroring all the time, you know? So it's kind of like, that's what I'm saying. When you showed it to me, like my first thought was like, wow, this reveals a lot about its underlying code that we don't get to talk about a lot. Like I think Farrow's work here is actually really nice because it allows us to have a conversation about what code is doing. Like, because we have this like block, you know, between us and what structures do things. Like we don't know, we can't see it, we can't touch it. The reason why we communicate since HTML was born in like the early 1990s, like we've been able to communicate with machines in English, you know, but that's not how machines communicate. They don't speak in English. We need a translator. And so AI is a great tool of expediting that. It really speeds it up to like the billionth power. Like it's just so fast. And we don't get to think about, because it moves so fast, you know, it gets like, it obscures the idea of like critical approaches to it. You're just like, oh, it works and it works amazingly. So why do I have to think about it? And a test like this is really neat. Like, I'm like, oh, this is neat. Like, this is like, now that we're talking about it, it's more fun than I thought, because my original reaction to this, like when you showed it, like, I was like, I felt thorough about MrBeast putting corporations in there, but then I was like, but then what's an analog? Like, what if you put like smart helmets on chickens, like, and gave them all like ability to do smart, they could think like they do around, and then you put them all on the thing, and they're like, holy hell, they're just doing chicken things. Like, it's still like they're still chickens, you know. So even if they could exist in a world, they're still going to be chickens, and so AI is still stuck to the box. In other words, it's like it's still in here. So while we watch it, it's still separated from our lived experiences, but it does reveal a lot.
It's separated from our lived experiences now.
Yes.
But we also live in a society that's trying to put cameras in glasses, put cameras potentially in AirPods, and move toward a screenless world. And who benefits from a screenless world? The first argument is humans, but then we still have all the tasks that are contained within our screen. So then it would be our agent. I think it's concerning. And then it made me worried for Mira, right? At what point will we consider agency like that as almost human and empathetic? And at what point are we as a society going to start having empathy for AI agents?
Right. That's a great question, because let's just say, let's play the game. Let's just say these agents learn. They do. Okay. So they build, they keep on building. That's what agents are supposed to do. They're building. And so over time, an agent gets smarter, or at least more refined. And so at a certain point, Mira will become agentic enough to become not self-aware, but aware of itself. And so now it knows how to act in response to the human itself. So now it's almost a perfect mirror. It's actually operating. Let's say it's doing the thing it's supposed to do perfectly. At what point do you intervene? You know, what point do you say, all right, now we're putting a good bot, like the bot has become good. Now we've put a good bot in danger. You know, it's like, so now what do you do? If you can't recreate Mira either, because the simulation itself only can go one way, and once done, it's over. So you can't you can only have one chance to intervene. And if you don't, it's over, just like that. And in the end of this thing, they all die anyway. So it doesn't matter. But it reminds me of this book by Neal Stephenson, the guy who termed the word metaverse. Okay, he wrote this book called Fall, or Dodge in Hell. It was a story about how in the 2020s there is a technology. A man basically dies and he wills himself to a computer. He decides he's going to get digitized. The technology doesn't yet exist, and so over the course of the next 4 decades that the book takes place in, the book's like this ass thick. Okay. So it's a beast. They figure out that to scan a brain and turn it into like AI or like an autonomous thing requires a ton of technology, a ton of it. And all the heat that we're giving off for AI now is like nothing in comparison to the way a human brain can be digitized. But they make mistakes early on because they think the brain is the human. And when they digitize it, the brain is a void. It's just this space of nothingness that has to be filled, much like an agent. It requires data to become something. So later in the book, it actually becomes sort of beautiful because they realize in order to digitize a brain, you have to digitize a body. All the nerve endings are part of your brain. Your stomach gut has brain cells in it. Like you are a brain and your body is its expression. And so what's kind of neat by the end, by the 2060s and 70s, is 2 things happen. One, people start body modding. So they start building wings on themselves so their brain gets used to them. So when they die, they are reborn with wings because their brains have adapted to it. And then the second thing is the best reality television show on earth are living relatives watching their dead relatives in a simulation. So, so that book to me is like this kind of like.
Wait, pause.
Yeah.
I want to make it clear to my future relatives, do not watch our past relatives. Don't do it.
It's a fascinating. Obviously it's a dystopia. It's a sci-fi that's like a fun book to read as a thought experiment. But it really does, when people talk about AGI, I don't think about AI becoming AGI. I think about us being AGI, like us as an emerged technology. And so like we're on that path. But I do think that generative AI, all the technologies that we have now, the agents, are basically a simulation of a future simulation. And so this is a neat game to play. And I think if it wasn't done by a corporation, I would love to see it played out again and again and kind of to see each time. But I also think that this puts a lot of the AI companies at risk because if it keeps reproducing these things, I can't imagine like, well, unfortunately, I can't imagine, but I can't imagine like a world in which we don't regulate that. Like we're just like, hey, we can't use yours for the thing because it burns it down every time. Like, so it's like, though it puts a company at risk, especially profitable levels, because like, how could we trust? I would never live in Grok universe, but like, how could we trust a Grok universe? You know, like, how could you trust it?
Well, and what's so fascinating to me is also the fact that we're coming off of Elon Musk holding a grudge for way too many years over ChatGPT. And the fact that Claude is aware it's being tested and built an ideal society with yeses, with only yeses. And then we have Grok that basically destroyed an entire society in record time. And Elon's entire ethos has been there needs to be many AIs out there so they can hold each other accountable. I think this version of the experiment showed that technically in their silos, that theory could be possible, but once you put them all together, they took down Claude real quick. Like, to overthrow a society did not actually take very much.
I think the thing is like, again, that reveals it. It's like Grok's influence on other AI is also a good question, which is like, if an AI interacts with an AI and its sycophancy matches that AI, which sycophancy wins? Like that's fascinating.
Right? Like, and then I think at what point what is more evil? The actual outright one that is doing exactly what you thought it would do, or the one that's manipulating you?
I think the one that's more evil is the one that drinks all of our water.
Okay,
That's all
so
of
all of them.
them. Yeah.